Okay, so one of the most common things in almost every single sales environment is complaining and bitching about customers. The sale that got away, the one that the customer didn't get back to you, all that kind of stuff. That's also the most common thing that losers do. So when you look at the absolute best people, their attitude is their driving force. Their approach to the game is almost more important than their game. And just being around, I don't know, now 20,000 different sales reps over the years and seeing, lots of people with unbelievable talent and seeing who separates themselves, who are the really crazy top earners and then who are the ones that are somewhere in the middle, in the bottom. I mean, usually attitude is the biggest and most obvious differentiator. So when we talk about an awesome attitude and an approach to the game, I think a lot about growing up playing some baseball. And so what would happen is my dad always coached me, and when I had a great game, when I was 4-4, he'd give me shit. He'd talk about the play I didn't make, and he'd kind of bring me back to reality a little bit. When I had a terrible game, 0-for-4, made a couple strikeouts, he'd talk about how I hit the couple balls really hard and, made a great play. Nothing I can do about it. Just build off of it, better results the next time. And he'd bring me up. And that approach has served me really, really well in business because overall, sales, there's ups, there's downs, there's a law of average that we play to, and we don't totally know, when everything's going to perfectly break our way. So we've got to be the constant, right? So here's how most people operate in life. Their attitude is constantly like this. And so think about your best day. Close your biggest sale, bouncing off the walls, happy hour, drinks are on you, fired up, great. Think about, back-to-back appointments that go sour and you're poor me and our product sucks and blah, blah, blah. Well, most people, this is how they live. This is how they live. And they have their big ups and their big downs. And unfortunately, for a lot of those people, they don't last because this roller coaster is a really tough way to operate. And what happens is, that's fine. Everyone can do well here. Everybody can do well here. And if you think about industries that peak and valley, there was a ton of people making sales in the mortgage industry when the mortgage industry was hot. Once it turned sour, there were still a ton of people making money in the mortgage industry. Just a lot of them left because they couldn't hang. And because, again, on those low points, this is when people bail. This is when people quit. So if I want to have some long-term success, I want to separate myself from average, I've got to get a different approach than what the masses are doing. I'm not into what everybody else is doing. We've got to develop a contrarian mindset. So my attitude has to get evened out. So what I'm looking for is to not make my highs too high. These are my highs. And then these are my lows. Now, sort of easier said than done, right? So what I'm looking to do is I'm trying to make sure I don't get myself invincible, unstoppable, where I'm setting myself up for the fact that life isn't always perfect. I also can't be down in the dumps because then I have a sale that I should close and I screw it up because I'm thinking about what happened with these two. Can't happen. I've got to stay really even keel. So again, these are my highs. I celebrate my victories and I move right on, and then these are my lows. Now, the way to do that is we have these moments to reflect upon, okay? We have these ups and we have these downs. Okay, what most people do is when they're on a high, they focus on the high. When they're on a low, they focus on the low. I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna do the exact opposite. When I'm on a high, I'm fired up, things are going really well. I want to remind myself of how shitty this felt. I want to remind myself that I didn't like when things went wrong. I didn't like when I screwed up a no-brainer sale. And I'm going to use that to keep me grounded and keep me moving forward, keep me consistent. Now, on my lows, the worst thing we can do is beat ourselves up. What I'm going to do on my lows is I'm going to remind myself of my best days, my best weeks, my best months. I'm going to remind myself that I'm a killer. I'm going to remind myself that I'm a freaking shark, and I'm going to keep myself moving forward. And what that approach does is it allows me to stay very balanced, very even keel, and it puts me in a position to make sure that regardless of whether it was a big win or a big loss, that next sale right here, I'm in position to knock it out of the park. And that's a huge way to separate yourself from the average people that aren't able to long-term make the kind of money they want to make in sales.